Hey folks, it's Ash from being SWENGLISH, and sorry for the lack of content recently, but guess what? I'm on holiday. Now, a number of you have commented on my recent post saying, what's it like to travel during COVID? Well, we have managed to get to Cyprus from Sweden via Denmark, and I'm going to talk in this video about the process, how easy it was, what challenges we faced, and basically the fun we're having here. Trust me, there's a lot. So I am in beautiful Cyprus. I'm in Aiya Napa. I chose this resort especially for Ellis, really, because I wanted a kid's holiday to give him a break from this rubbishy crap that's going on with this pandemic. And it has been a long time since we had a good holiday. So we're in a lovely little place. It's a Ving holiday. Ving used to be Thomas Cook, and they're now called Ving in Scandinavia. And I must say it was either TUI or Ving for us, because I do love the way that they really cater well for kids. They have loads of kids clubs, kids activities, and just Lolo and Bernie and Bamsi and all of that stuff going on. Now, don't criticise the way I pronounce Bamsi. I'm British, I don't know how to pronounce it properly. No one really seems to know how to pronounce that properly unless you're Swedish or Scandinavian. So basically, when we looked to travel here, we did find somewhere that we knew we'd be able to get to without too many complications. And at the moment, Sweden is on Cyprus's green list, which means that there are less limitations in terms of getting here, which just makes the overall process a little bit less stressful and a bit simpler in general. If you do choose somewhere that's on Cyprus's amber or red list, then it's like anywhere else where you need to do a few other additional things. But the main thing to do is check your destination and also check your origin country, whether it's Denmark, Sweden or elsewhere, to make sure that both countries reciprocally are in a kind of safe list thing. Now, by choosing one that was on the green list, luckily Sweden just got added to Cyprus's green list, and that means that we actually, in the last week of traveling, were told that we didn't need any PCR or antigen test. Now, originally when you book with Ving or TUI, they will subsidise your PCR or antigen test, which is really good. So Ving offered ours for only 500 kroners, which is about £45, which is great. However, after Cyprus added Sweden to the green list, they sent us all an email saying, cancel your test, you don't need it anymore. Now, we were about to cancel it, but then we discovered that actually Kastrup, so going across the bridge to Kastrup Airport in Copenhagen, does sometimes require proof of a test. Now, it does seem to be a bit of a spot test, a random test. It's very inconsistent, and some people going over the Øresund Bridge have been tested. It seems the majority are not. So it's very hard to know what to believe. And for that reason, we actually kept the booking for the test, and I went and had it a day before I travelled anyway. I used Ving's subsidised test, and luckily it came back as negative very, very quickly, within about 20 minutes actually. And I just had it as a bit of peace of mind. So if you're unsure, or if you think the regulations might change, then my advice is to get it done anyway. I don't know if you can hear in the background, but I think Lolo and Bernie are doing a tour at the moment, so you can hear their soundtrack. So then basically, to travel to Cyprus, we had to complete something called I think it's Safe Path or Safe Flight, which is Cyprus's own system, and you fill that out, and then at Kastrup Airport they asked for a copy of it, and also when we got to Cyprus we had to show it as well. Besides that, nobody at any point from Sweden to Kastrup and Kastrup to Cyprus, nobody asked for our antigen test result. So I would recommend getting it anyway, just for peace of mind. If you are stopped, you've got it. There's no challenges, and you're not going to be stopped from traveling, which would be the worst case scenario. It is so hot here. It is literally, I'm sweating buckets. It's 31 degrees. But luckily in Sweden, we've had some really hot weather just before we traveled. So we had a bit of a warm up. So then once you're here, you're probably wondering, well, can you actually enjoy the holiday? Are the restrictions heavy here in Cyprus? Well, definitely check where you're going to fly, because the last thing you want is to be sat around a pool wearing a mask. That's just not going to be particularly fun, especially in this heat. Now, when we got to Kastrup Airport, the regulations there are you have to wear a mask the entire time, and that was horrendous, I must say. Also, on the flight itself, you had to wear a mask for the whole 4 hours, which was horrible. Now, I did notice that it wasn't really enforced very strictly. I think the cabin crew feels sorry for passengers, and they don't like wearing them either, and it's a bit of a flawed system. It's a complete fallacy, really, because the antigen test or the PCR test can be 72 hours old. You can easily catch COVID in that time anyway, and despite wearing a mask, everybody's touching the seat, the armrests, the baggage lockers above, so it's a completely flawed system. I think they kind of see that. So I actually took my mask off on the flight at one point, and nobody, despite talking to the cabin crew, picked me up on it. But then once you're in the resort, so here in Cyprus, the law at the moment is that if you're in open areas or you're within close proximity of other people, then you wear the mask. So in the hotel here, in the buffet and inside by the reception, you have to wear a mask whenever you get up and leave a table to get food. In fact, in the canteen here, you even have to wear rubber gloves or plastic gloves, which you just use whilst you're getting your food. I've not seen those kind of restrictions anywhere else. So I would say Cyprus is far stricter than Sweden and Denmark in terms of their rules and regulations right now. But it doesn't ruin the fun. You're still around the pool. You don't have to wear a mask when you're at the pool chilling. You certainly don't have to wear a mask when you're on the water slides in the background, luckily. So it's certainly not limited our enjoyment of the holiday, and it certainly wouldn't limit yours either. Now, in terms of the articles, we saw an interesting article on Aftonbladet, which is a Swedish newspaper, a bit of a trash rag, a bit like the Daily Mail, saying that Swedes are still going to Cyprus despite rising levels and people dying, spreading false fear, basically. Because although there are cases here every day, there are cases every day in every country. Only one person died yesterday of COVID, but let's face it, they probably didn't die of COVID. They just had COVID in the last month and they put it down as a COVID death. So, there's a lot of scaremongering still going on with the press and the media, and, countries trying to put people off traveling, but ultimately we're here. We read in this article as well that people are coughing up blood and everybody in the hotel has COVID. Well, just be very apprehensive with these kind of scaremongering, because it doesn't seem to be the reality in any respect. And people are just getting on with it. People are being very safe here. People are doing all of the precautions that they need to and following the rules. Besides that, life is quite normal here. We've been down to the beaches, people are enjoying the sea and the sand. We've been out to a restaurant last night. Again, people are being very careful. I must say the people working here are very, very much following the rules. They may not have been on the plane, but in Cyprus itself, they're aware that this is their only industry, tourism. And so they've got to be careful and, really, really take account of it, because if they get closed down, that's it for that entire season. They're done, basically. So my advice would be, if you're desperate to get away, check the restrictions on both sides, check the travel regulations, get an antigen test. They're very cheap anyway. Get it anyway, just for peace of mind, because you never know when the rules might change. And if they do change whilst you're away and you need an antigen test when you get back, then obviously it's nice to have it done. I have heard that flying back to Denmark, they'll test you when you get to the airport. A free test, apparently. I don't know whether that's true. We'll find out, and I'll do another video when we fly home. But it is excruciatingly hot here. But I must say, this is a free plug for the hotel we're at. We travelled with Ving. We're at the Sunny Bay Beach Hotel in Aiya Napa, and it cost a stupid amount of money. It was 27,000 krona, which is about £2,500. But that is for a week. It's fully inclusive. Obviously that included in all the flights and everything as well. And it is fantastic for kids. I'm a real hotel snob, and I complain about anything and everything if it's not quite right. But I have absolutely no complaints about this hotel or the staff so far. They also have mini club and all of those kind of activities for the kids. So we've done t-shirt painting, we've done a treasure hunt, we've done Lolo and Bernie's birthday party. And there's just the two of us traveling here, and you'd think it'd be hard as a lone parent, but we've actually had a fantastic time so far. And only 2 days to go before we go home. But anyway, hopefully this video is useful to give you guys a bit of confidence if you are thinking about traveling. I'm going to go and get a beer and do some more swimming before we do some more water slides. So have a good weekend, folks, and look out for another video of our travel home. Cheers, guys.